أهلا وسهلا فيكم. أنا بدي أقول لك وأفرجيكم عملية علم عربي من موقف like a heritage speaker. So welcome everyone. I want to talk about, just as a heritage speaker learning Palestinian Arabic, um, you know, how to get started, how to get into it. And really this is kind of applicable to all dialects. I'm not, like especially Palestinian because I'm Palestinian. وأنا بحكي عربي مع عيلتي like كل هذا بحياتي. So, you know, that I just want to cover it because it's really hard to start, and a lot of people kind of get overwhelmed. They kind of go in the wrong way, and I went that way. That was my that was how I did it when I started out, and I just wasted a lot of time. And there's not much documentation. There's not much people talking about the journey. I'm no by no means fluent or great. I've only been doing this for about a year and a half, سنة ونص, and maybe my pronunciation isn't the best pronunciation, but I'm kind of on a path, and I figured it would be good to document it for other people who are also beginning this path, or maybe perhaps beyond me. Just build a community around this. So, anyways, we'll talk about kind of how to get started, and I'll start sharing some resources. You can see I have all these tabs up in the top. So let's get started. So the first thing you want to do is you want to learn the alphabet, and realistically, the thing that people get intimidated about is how similar some of the characters look. Like ba, ta, and tha, they all kind of look the same, and there's different positions. For example, let me pull up, Arabic letters in different positions. So at the beginning of a word versus middle and end of a word. So if we can find an image. So yeah, you see this and you're like, oh my goodness, I have so much to learn. And it is like intimidating at first. Let's put this here. It is intimidating at first because like, oh my goodness, I have to know how Aleph is in the initial, medial, and final position. But what you start to realize when you start learning is that realistically you're only learning like what, 6 7 shapes. You're learning this ba shape, this ha shape or kha shape, dal, because you see there's a lot of repeats, and like sin and sheen, they're the same. They're really the same like shapes. The difference is in the dots, and the dots is something that you can learn. Like it's not that crazy. So if you know ba, how ba works, then you know ta and ta, like intermediate and medial positions. So definitely don't worry about learning the alphabet. It is definitely doable. It takes a little bit of time, maybe a couple weeks to get familiar, and then it just becomes part of your practice. You start practicing vocab, you learn it in the script. Don't rely too much on the romanization. I know there's a lot of people that like using romanization, but it really sets you up nicely to know the script. And so one of the things that I like is this video. I found this video. I didn't watch it myself, but well, I did watch it myself, but I didn't watch it to learn the letters. I kind of learned letters elsewhere in university. But he really does a good job of kind of making them memorable. So you see like, oh, here's a person saying help. Ha. It's like the mouth. And it's very creative, and it's a great way to kind of you know associate the sounds with the shapes, the letters. So definitely check this out. I'll have all these links in the box below, the description below. The so once you learn the letters, you know, of course you're gonna need practice. You're gonna need some vocab, because vocab reading in Arabic, no matter how slow and tedious it is, trust me, I've been there, is gonna be the way you reinforce it and you get used to reading and writing and just seeing a word and understanding it and working through those letters. And this app, let me close these, I don't need them. This app, Mango Languages, is actually surprisingly good for that. So Mango is it's Levantine. So Levantine is the Levant. So but there's also Egyptian. There's like Kuwaiti, I think. I forget. There's like Gulf Arabic on there too. So it doesn't really matter. And there's a bunch of other languages. But the idea behind Mango is that you start doing some vocabulary. So you start getting like some words like akol or I don't know, taba. like you get vocabulary words, and they're kind of broken into categories. They're pretty nice, and you can you have the text in front of you. So maybe there's an example. I don't have it installed anymore because I switched phones, but you have like a sentence or like a word, and there's also grammar lessons. And what you do is you tap on the word and it'll speak it for you. So and you can, when you tap on a word individually, it'll show you the pronunciation. So it writes it in Arabic script, you tap it, and it gives you the like a romanized version of saying it. And then you can also hear it, and they say it slowly. So like if it's like أنا بروح على مكتبي, I go to the library. You know, okay, well, hold on, that was a little fast. Let's tap. أنا بروح على مكتبي. It'll like slow it down word by word, which is like super awesome, and they color code it. It's a great way to get started, and I find that like especially when you're just getting into like um learning the script, you want something to practice that's not crazy, not a book. You don't want to like, drop a book and be like, okay, let's go practice the letters. Like that's a little intense. So instead, we use something like Mango, even Duolingo. Like I know it sucks. It's not very good for Arabic, and it's Fusha and whatever. But just getting used to letters and like just use something, use an app, use something that's already made, already existing, and then you solidify it. And we'll talk about how you solidify it and start growing your vocabulary. So these two sites I want to show you, this is called Wiktionary, and there's also another one, a dictionary site. These are dictionaries basically. So Wiktionary and Lugatana are dictionaries, and you can use this. So Wiktionary is more general for all languages, but it works for Arabic, and there's specifically Levantine Arabic, which is important because there's not very many dictionaries out there that support Levantine specifically. But ideally, what you want to do is you want to be encountering words in your everyday life, and when you encounter those words, you want to write them down, and you want to save them for later to look in a dictionary. So for example, one of the things I do is I have a word set. So these are probably, this is from when I started learning, like very, very long, like a year ago. And so what I did is I wrote words I encountered. So, I would go hang out with my dad, I would hang out with my mom because they're Palestinian, and I would get words from them. So, they said marajay, next time. And whatever. And oops, what did I do? Okay. And what I would do is I would be like, okay, like especially initially, I just would translate it, Google Translate, or ask them for what the word is. But over time, what I started doing is I started being like, ooh, let me check this word in a dictionary. So let's try like adal, which is like to edit or modify. So I type adal, and this is of course where you need to know the script, and you can come onto Wiktionary. You can be like, ooh, okay, Arabic, Persian, South Levantine Arabic. So South Levantine is Palestine or Jordan. And you can be like, okay, it's from this root, adal, and it means to edit or modify. And so, boom, I wrote it down. Now I have a reference. So I can look in this program. This is my note-taking program. And I can be like, hey, what was that word adal? What does that mean? I don't remember what that means. Let me check it out. So one of the things that's important also to note is that in your studying, the thing, so first you learn the letters, and the reason you learn the letters is because Arabic is a root language. It's a language of roots. جذر لغة الجذر. So what that means is everything kind of revolves around a root. So if we go here to this root, so you'll see adal is related to justice. So you'll see like there's a bunch of different ways to play around with this root, and you can get different meanings. So for example, like what is the first one? First one is to act justly, or to make someone equal. So that's related to justice, but let's check this one. So this one is, where is it? Here. To give judgment according to the right, to make just, to make equal. So we're still revolving around that general idea of justice. Another example is katab. So kataba is related to rose? No, related to writing. So kataba is the word to write. And then, kataba is to make someone write and to correspond and dictate. And, you see it's all kind of related to this general idea of writing. And so, like, for example, kitab comes from that root. And you get the word for book. Or mektabe, which I used earlier, is library. So it's really important to understand roots, and that is, that's what you want to get to as quick as possible. You want to just get a basic understanding of roots, because that will shape your understanding of the language, and that will make, especially growing your vocabulary, so much easier. You don't want to be memorizing, like, okay, I need to learn library, the word for library, mektabe, and then, kitab for book, and oh my god, you what you want to do is you want to be like, hey, I know kataba, which is something with writing, has to do with writing. Mektabe, hey, there's it looks similar. Like if we write down mektabe, I wish I could zoom in on this. See if I can. What the heck? Don't know why that's acting weird. Anyways, so what we can see is if we take out these letters, holy shit, katab. So, you know, and you don't have to understand it right now. You don't have to. There's no rush to understand why this is the thing. But what you'll start to see is, hey, some of these patterns are pretty repeatable. They're pretty, like, they're not. It's not that crazy. Growing your vocabulary isn't that crazy compared to if you try to just like learn it straight up. Like, okay, I have to learn kitab. I have to learn this verb, and like this is overwhelming. You don't want to be in the point where you're like, oh my god, I have to learn all. I have to memorize all of these. No, you don't. You can. There's strategies to doing this. So the difference between these two is this is much less. This is much more of a formal dictionary, and it actually has more words, I find, than Wiktionary. Wiktionary is human edited, so there's a team. There's actually a really nice community on here that I will definitely be sharing it with you in a little bit, that has put in labor hours to put up words on this website. And they've done a fantastic job. It is such a helpful resource, especially for learning, for beginning. So that's the difference. It's just this one is much more like bare bones. Like, you have to understand roots in order to use this, whereas Wiktionary, you can kind of like, oh, okay, I don't really know anything about roots, but I want to make somebody write something. I want to say, yo, I want to make you write بدي أكتبك essay or whatever. And so you can come here and you can be like, okay, well, I won't write, but here's make write. So I need to use this. So anyways, now the next thing, when you get kind of vaguely familiar with roots, I don't want you to focus on all these forms and getting memorizing all this stuff. Just focus on roots. Get used to, oh, there's a root. Oh, I can see that root in another word. Like mektabe, I know, oh, there's katab. Stuff like that. Once you get to that point, that's good enough for now. You can build on to the other stuff later. Now we want to look at conjugation. So this is a terrible, we're not going to look at that. We're going to go to South Levantine Arabic, because that's much more pleasant to look at. So conjugation, past tense, present tense. Ignore subjunctive. Subjunctive is just a fancy way of saying hypothetical. And what you want to basically do is, and of course you have your imperative, your commands. You want to notice, hey, if I just put the roots together, katab, kataba, katab, that makes the masculine third person past tense. So huwe katab, he wrote. And then you can see, like, hey, if I want to get, I don't know, I wrote, katabit, I wrote, past tense. And you just get used to conjugating. You just have to, this is just something you have to, like, get used to. You have to get practice with. Betiktub, bektub, aktub, uktub. You just have to get used to it. And so you want to be able to do conjugations for all verbs, So you want to be, and it doesn't matter what the verb is, you can conjugate it based on these rules. There's a little bit of variation, but you'll kind of figure that out as you encounter words. And Wiktionary is so incredibly helpful for this. There's no other resource to just help you like figure out conjugation. So spend a lot of time on Wiktionary. Just look up words when you encounter them and try to conjugate them. Try to just play around with them. So let's say you've done that for a month, a couple months, and you're feeling pretty confident with verbs. The next thing I would do is start with grammar. So this website, Desert Sky, such a great grammar resource. It is to Fusha, more Fusha'i than Levantine, but Saraha, like when you are learning Arabic, like Fusha is like a superset of Arabic, if that makes sense. Like there's gonna be some differences. Like there's a lot of like people who say Fusha versus Amiya. They're so different, but realistically they're the same language. They're just like different. One's like more formal. One's only used written and in the news and stuff like that. But the connections are there. Like you can't don't disconnect them. That was one of the mistakes I made really early on, is disconnecting them and being like, no, I don't want to learn Fusha. I just want to learn Amiya, Ashan. That's what my family speaks. But it's like, no, like learn them both. You don't have to focus on Fusha. You don't have to go focus on the news and learn all these words that people don't use in everyday speech. Focus on speaking like your everyday speech, but don't shy away. Like don't be afraid. So this resource is extremely useful. So like for example, learning like nouns, making them singular, plural, feminine, masculine, like that kind of stuff. You just have to learn, and it's gonna apply whether you do Amir, Fusha, whatever. Now, one thing I do want to flag is that when you do plurals, Arabic is highly irregular. So meaning there is no way to pluralize a noun like across the board. For example, in English we have the S. So like dogs, maybe you change how you pronounce that ending thing, but it really is just, you want to plural something, you put an S at the end. So like dogs, cats, phones, houses, those kind of things. But in Arabic, it's a lot different. So like for example, Rasif is sidewalk, Irsafa is the plural, Bise, Bisas, um, Alam, Ulum. Like you just, there isn't really a pattern there. Like I don't want to say there's no pattern. There is a pattern to it, and you'll see it pop up. But there's no rhyme or reason to that distribution. You just have to learn it like as a unit. You just have to learn the singular and the plural together. And please don't skimp on this. This will like come to bite you in the butt so many times. So make sure you learn that. And so they're called broken plurals. So like katab. So kutub, kitab, book, kutub. Walad, awlad. Jumle, jumal. You just like you're just gonna have to learn them as you encounter them, which is fine. Of course, you use those dictionaries. You'll be good. You'll be fine. So it's a lot of reading so far, right? And by the way, this is such a great resource. I come back to it frequently. Especially like verb conjugations, possessive pronouns. Like it has a lot of information, and don't worry too much about the grammar. The only thing I would say is what you'll see in Fusha is sometimes they have like what's called the tanween, or like a doubling. Like so, for example, let me see if I can find something with an example. So you'll see like a lot of words have like some vowel on the last letter of the root, like kataba. I was saying kataba. In Amiye, we don't say katab. We just say katab. We don't say kataba. We don't have that ending like case marker. Don't worry about it too much. Just keep that in mind. Like there's gonna be some stuff that just, hey, we don't need that in Amiye, which is cool. And if you, and eventually we'll learn it. No worries. So, what I would like to give you next is this YouTube channel, FC Lang Media. He actually has a bunch of playlists. there's a lot of different languages on here, but the ones that we care about is the Arabic, and there's actually 3 years of Arabic grammar, which is just wonderful. So you can see I've watched a lot. Haven't finished this one, but you know, just kind of watch as you need them. But he gives great explanations, and he just kind of like gets sets a good foundation for learning. There is also let me see if I can pull this up. There's also um, books and stuff. So like for example, the Al Kitab books, they have a lot of good lessons, and there's a good vocabulary in here. Definitely like you can definitely like use these kind of resources. They are good for starting out, but what we are going to do in this video is I'm going to give you a process to kind of go beyond it, because they kind of fail at a certain point. And they don't fail in they fail in the sense that they don't set you up in a good way. Like talking about roots, they don't talk about roots quickly. This series does, but like Al Kitab or like the Medina books, I feel like I have a lot of problems with them in that sense. So, anyways, definitely watch some of these. You know, be like, you know what? Let me just put it on and just watch it, and maybe you have to watch it a couple times. No worries. And of course, you have a lot of videos to get through, so watch as needed. The other channel that I would like to recommend is Palweb. This guy Adrian Abdulbaha, he is just wonderful. His videos were probably how I got into it and how I like really actually started making progress. A lot of these a lot of my method and what I'm talking about today comes from him, and how he explained it, and how he like taught me personally how to learn Arabic. And he focused on Palestinian Arabic, which is just wonderful because that is my dialect. That's what I've been looking for. So, just sort by oldest, go watch all his videos. They are all useful and helpful. And he has a community, which I'll link in the description. It's a Discord community. Join it. You'll probably see me talking there. There's a lot of people who are talking there. It's just wonderful. Just a lot of good resources, a lot of good like people giving tips and stuff like that. Definitely check it out. He does a really good job of explaining, like for example, conjugation and roots, and like for example, can, to be, sawed, to become. There's some sort of like concepts that kind of don't make sense when you're starting out, and he does a really good job of breaking it down. And anyways, so there's some other tools like our tools. This is like a morphological analyzer. So you like say like you write oh my goodness, mektabe. It'll break it down to this root. It'll be like, hey, that comes from the root katab, like I told you before. So, if you can't really, if you're struggling to find a word in the dictionary, try throwing it in here. I'll have it in the description. Now, I don't like Google Translate that much. I use this thing called DeepL. It's actually pretty good for Arabic. I mean, there's still mistakes. It's hard to make translators, but I find it more consistent than in general. So what should you do? You got some grammar, you got some vocabulary. You want to build your vocabulary. You want to get more words and practice reading and practice speaking and all this kind of stuff. What I would recommend is what are called graded readers. They are written in Arabic, either in Fusha or Amiyya, depending on what you want. And you just read in Arabic, and then you have an English page. So like, for example, one of the ones I was using is one page was English, one page was Arabic, the next page was English. It's the same exact content, just like a translation. And so you read the Arabic, then you check yourself on the English, and if you see words that you don't know, you can look at the English to get those words. And you want to build a little bit of a vocabulary, because you can't just go out into the wild and start speaking, right? You have to have something to speak. You have to have some collection, some words in your pocket to pull and use. And a lot of learning language is just growing that pocket and getting to the point where you can talk about different subjects. Like when you start, you're going to learn ahki, so like, hey, ana bahki Arabi, and that's your sentence, and it's cute and it's nice and wonderful. But when you go into the real world, people aren't going to engage with you on that. Like you need a little bit more to engage with. And so, your priority really should be to grow your words. And one of the best ways to do that is graded readers. Now, this one, Sahlawahi, is actually really popular. A lot of people I know use it. I personally haven't used it. What I kind of used is this site called Lingualism. They have like short stories in Arabic, and they have actually specifically in like Palestinian, Jordanian, Syrian, and so this is what the readers I've done. I have tried these. I just never. I don't know. I just never got into them. It doesn't matter. Just want to get some words somewhere. And so what I did was I went through them, and let me pull the vocab, and I wrote down words, and I said I don't know these words. So I highlighted it, and then I went to the dictionary and I added them. And so now I have all these words saved somewhere. And that's kind of what you do. You just build a little thing. I'm currently reading a book, and if you can see, I have pages and pages of words that I don't know, that I looked up in a dictionary and I added. Now, what do you do? So, what do you do to actually like get those words in? Well, there's a program called Anki. It is a spaced repetition software. That means is that you do a word, you do words like per day. So like for me, I do 15 words per day. And so like let's say we study. I'm not gonna really study. So hey, ta. Okay, I don't know what that word is. Let me or maybe I do know what that word is. And in this case I do. It's like to go away or to disappear or whatever. So you would answer and say, "Oh, I knew that word." And what it does is it schedules it. It moves it up or back in time depending on like your understanding, your memory. So what it does is it helps you really solidify. It's kind of like magic, and I highly recommend it for vocab. Just throw in like get a good base of words. You can look up things like 100 most oops most common used words in Palestinian Arabic. There's actually a book. I don't know if it'll come up. There's a book. No, this is a website. There's a book actually that has like 100 verbs. Maybe it's like 100 verbs. But that book is so useful. Actually, I think this might be it. Where you just get like akol, imshi. Yeah, this book. Really, really good. And you can definitely find this on the seas. I don't know if it'll show. Yeah, but like, hey, there's all these verbs that you should probably learn. And just throw those into Anki, start drilling them, and then what you do is you start going into the wild, those readers I was talking about, and highlight new words you don't know. Extract them, break them down to their roots, learn the roots, get used to it, save it, rinse and repeat, and over time you'll build up a pretty solid vocabulary. Now, this is actually the Palweb channel. He's currently making lessons in a dictionary, and so he has things like text. Okay, well I can't access that, but he has like, for example, annotated readers. So he looks at an article and he annotates it and he gives you verbs, and he gives you kind of like a list of verbs from that article. There's also videos on YouTube. So if we go to YouTube and we go to, there's a channel that's really, really nice. It's called Hayat Ailetna, Our Family Life. This is Jordanian, and what's really nice is that the captions are in Levantine Arabic, in Ammiya. So what you can do is, this is something I do, is I download the captions with English, the English and Arabic captioning, and I extract words. So right now you can see I have some words highlighted, right? And it's a really good way to get verbs. So that and your readers Those are how you're gonna grow your vocabulary, and that's kind of what he does on here. And he's also building a dictionary, so you can also look up words. Like for example, there's a word of the day, dough, which is light, and you can just play around with it. It's a really great. It's a really great site, and I'm really excited for it to grow. Here's the singular and plural, shurs, shurus. So definitely check it out. I think this will be such a great resource, and I really want to shout it out. Obviously, it's still in development. Hub Learning is another really nice subscription service. This guy is Jordanian, and he and his wife are just, or girlfriend or something, they are just, pumping out videos. They have all sorts of native speakers making videos in Amman and Palestine, and it's a really great way to learn, to get vocabulary, also to practice your listening. This is another site for Arabic. It's clips and videos, and you can pause it and you can click on the captions and they'll give you the words. Really good. This site is also really great. It is reading. You just read any article that you want, and it uses AI to translate, like in text. So like if you're on an article in Arabic and you click on a word that you don't know, it'll give you an in text like translation using AI for context. So there's some tools. The one of the biggest problems with Arabic overall is that there aren't really resources. Unfortunately, this language hasn't been invested in, like, for example, Japanese or Chinese or Spanish. Spanish is a big one. Spanish has so much resources. It's really wonderful what they're doing. Arabic kind of suffers from not having that much resources, whether that's because of colonization, whether that's because of, Orientalism, but it is getting invested in now, and so it has never been a better time to start learning Arabic, and it's only going to get better as time goes on. So I highly encourage, like, if you are thinking about it, or you're trying and you're just not getting through, follow some of these tips I gave, use some of these websites that I gave, and just really, this is the time to do it. I am planning on kind of, I want to make a little bit of a community around this. You just being a learner. Like, I'm not gonna teach you Arabic. I'm not at that part. I can maybe explain some things, and uh, put out resources, but realistically, I'm a learner. You're probably a learner. That's why you're watching this. And I think we could really, like, help each other all learn by building community on this. Anyways, well, I hope this was helpful. I hope to see you in a future video. Goodbye.